Most people have the luxury of a home in which they live, work, play, and enjoy private moments with loved ones. In my situation, I have lost most of those opportunities because of someone taking my name and illegally utilizing my intellectual property in ways that are not moral. In life, we have moments of time to prove who we are to the rest of the world. When those moments are taken from us because of technological cyber attacks and other people litigating our names to the end of them, we no longer can utilize our own name. My father, Bill Ensign, he passed away a few years ago, was a very honorable military man. He served as lieutenant colonel in the Reserve Officers Guild and openly loved our country. What I find absolutely astonishing is how few people recognize homelessness, how little they do to try and help it, and how foolish they are about thinking that providing a meal will just make all the difference in the world for someone. Many people come up to me after I've already eaten a meal and try to present me with a pizza pie or something they've purchased or some leftover food they have, as if I was a dog asking for a scrap at the table. I am a man who is one of honor, regard, and love. And when people think they have rights to control another person's food intake, it's really sort of sickening. It's a problem in America today where people think they have the right to take away other people's rights. A kinder thing would be to say, "Gosh, you look like you're traveling. Have you had a chance to eat today? Would you be willing to come and sit with me at a local restaurant where we could walk to together and have a meal together? It'd be my honor to pay for your meal and spend some time talking with you and getting to know you a little bit." But that person has to be willing to do that without an agenda. They have to be willing to do it with the loving kindness of the Lord in their heart, and they have to be getting that the fact that Jesus fed the masses does not mean that churches should feed the masses. I was sort of insulted the other day when I visited a small church that really had enough capability of having a small pantry for any homeless person that might visit on occasion, but instead they were sending all their food, and most of it the wrong kind of food, to another church's pantry. That pantry had done some illicit things to some homeless people who truly needed the help. And I couldn't really share that full story because as a journalist we sometimes have to protect our sources. But openly, there are people in this land that don't understand homelessness at all. They don't regard homeless people as people at all. They presume homeless are lazy. They presume they have some sort of vice or addiction. And even some of the brochures of some of the local new non-for-profits talk about that there's a mental illness or something like that. In many situations, that might be the case, literally in a downtown or urban situation or an urban city. But in an affluent community, while there can be vice of alcoholism and other illicit drugs, I suppose, many times homelessness and lack of income comes from loss of job, comes from loss of opportunity, comes from loss of social networks because of someone else's gossip that harms their life. In my particular case, I lost a lot of property in an apartment community that I was residing just to have a place to live, at the beautiful graces of my elderly mother, who was trying, in her best capabilities, around spiteful siblings, to help me move back into life after loss. You see, she had lost her husband through death, and I had lost my spouse through a variety of reasons. But the reality was that loss impacts people. It impacts our performance, it impacts our productivity, it impacts our ability to feel like we are welcome in churches and synagogues and Kabbalah centers and other places of faith and spirituality. The truth is that most churches don't know what to do with someone who is homeless. They sort of pass people around in different ways. And I know this from the many churches I have literally visited in the Indianapolis community, looking for not really a handout, but just a little help to move one of my goals a little closer to fruition. When I talk like this, people don't recognize that I'm an educated person until they literally start speaking with me. Then they can't believe that I've lost something, that I've lost perspective is sometimes what they think, and that's not it at all. I had people who promised to help me to do something, and then they intentionally chose not to. As a literal result, it destroyed my bank account. Other people have worked very hard to litigate my name. In fact, there are law enforcement that are regularly trying to trespass me from food, which should be seen as immoral considering how upset we are about the children and the men and women at the borders of America that are allegedly not being fed well by local border patrol. They have done something illegal trying to come into our country, yet we're upset about the human rights violations going on there. The truth is that many people violate other people's rights all the time. I am still waiting patiently and positively for the answer to a matrimony question which I popped literally back in March. And that individual came literally running out to the local place where I was waiting to see her. And yet she walked past me. Either she didn't recognize me or she did that intentionally. Either way, it's an immoral act to leave a man waiting for a response. If she spoke with someone in my family, my birth family, they would have no way to know that what I proposed or how I proposed it or what I wrote, because that was a private and personal letter that was sent through our technological capabilities. You see, I felt that she should have an understanding of what I was inviting her to. Why I was inviting her would be something that I would share in person. But literally, I have waited a long time until the right time, the right moment in time, according to what God shared with me in the way that He does, to invite her into a marriage bed. Now, the concept of marriage bed implies that yes, there might be some intimate moments, but mainly there would be intimacy of talk, intimacy of projects, intimacy of a lot of aspects of living together as one couple with children. I have my own son who lives abroad, who is a mature adult man with his own children for his own relationships. Her children are teenagers, I believe, or preteens. We call them tweens, I think. And openly, I have more than handled those types of kids in my lifetime. The problem is that there is some immoral person continuing to monstrously get into my baggage when I am asleep at night. I work very hard to pick a very carefully selected, safe place to bed down in the evening because there are no shelters in Indianapolis that are not full, and frankly, I don't know those areas all that well. There are definitely no shelters for men alone in Hamilton County, and most of the places are either full or they are run in very illogical and somewhat immoral ways or illicit ways in that they involve local populations of law enforcement in their organization. Now, in life, we have moments of time to say to people, I'm willing to help you. But if pastors do not allow people in their congregations to know that there's someone who's homeless that is looking for some help on a particular project or a particular goal, how does that person ever move on in life? When a person is a stranger to them, sometimes people are much more kind. I certainly have had a handful of very kind, conscientious, and thoughtful strangers offer to help me. Several have offered to give me a lift. Some were players wanting to steal my belongings, and those Cheshire cats, if you will, those wolves in sheep's clothing, always have an air about them that's more than obvious. I've had that happen a few times. But in life, what I'm talking about is professionals helping professionals to move a goal forward. Do we really need to charge everyone the highest rent possible? No. Do we really need to offer someone a free vehicle? No. But are there ways to help a person move forward through the generosity that we already extend to other organizations that are international and national when we could make the difference in one person's life? Absolutely. The only question is whether or not you're learned enough and listening enough to understand that people in poverty only get out of poverty through the helping hands of intellectual, thoughtful, caring people who say, what are your goals for the day? Let's look at how we can accomplish one step towards the stairs out of your predicament. That's how we move people forward. There are monsters in the law enforcement is absolute truth. There are monsters in the court system is absolute, utter truth. But openly, those people violate our federally protected rights of privacy of our information. They also violate our names in ways that are inappropriate, and I can say this having experienced it all. I literally am being stalked on a regular basis by someone because I find property that I had safely placed in my storage unit coming into my travel bags. I didn't need those items in my bags. I have found things from my altar, my prayer altar, totally ruined by people. I have histories of my work and my business cards that have been destroyed by some monster who thought they had rights in my property and in my paperwork and in my advertising marketing materials for things that I have done in my life. I think I've shared the story that someone has monstrously destroyed 15 years of Japanese language education that I produced through loving ways of listening to students, figuring out a system, and teaching them in the most efficient and proficient manner I could muster. All those documents appear to be deleted off hard drives and backups as well. It was a huge file, thousands of papers.